Hey friends, thanks so much for joining us. I have on the line a Twitter truth teller and a researcher. She's all over Pizzagate, guys. You know her work. It's Brittany Pettibone. She's got 59,000 followers on Twitter, and she's doing a podcast now with her friend Tara. That's YouTube's Reality Calls. I've interviewed Tara. She does a great job. Brittany, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Tara was going to join us too, but she's feeling a little under the weather today, huh?
Yes, unfortunately.
All right. Well, we wish Tara a speedy recovery. I'll tell you, when you dive into the deep pool, the deep end, right, and go down the rabbit hole with this Pizzagate, Pettibone stuff, it really takes a lot out of you, doesn't it? It really is exhausting. It's a soul-searching, soul-injurious endeavor.
And yes, that's exactly right. And I know it affects different people in different ways. Like some people just cannot handle it at all. Some people can go a couple weeks, some people can go a couple months. But all in all, I thought I was pretty strong and desensitized to a lot of things. But, after doing it for about 2 or 3 months, I really started to feel the effects mentally and I needed to take a step back. And, I'm still in a recovery from it. It really did affect me. And, I think that's normal because no person is, can go through this just completely unaffected, I think. But there's so many wonderful people working on it now. It's really, picked up steam and it's not going away. So, and it isn't about the people researching it. It's about the investigation. So there should be no one star, I don't think either, and so we can all help in whatever way we can. But, yeah, it's about the investigation versus the people. So I just try and help out in whichever way I can now, but I'm not investigating really at this point because I need to take a little bit of a step back because it was affecting me too much.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool that a lot of other people are stepping up. Like just for instance, just in the past couple of days, I've become aware of the work of this gal called The Honeybee. She's on Twitter and her YouTube channel is The Honeybee. And she's just doing some terrific stuff. There's others out there that have gone through the same thing that needed to take a step back, like Titus Frost.
Right.
There's just so many people doing great work. And I agree with you. There should not be one face that's the face of this investigation because that makes it too easy for the mainstream Mockingbird media to demonize that one person once they get huge and therefore sort of cast aspersions on the whole lot of research being done.
Exactly. And that's, kind of what they were doing at this point to David Seaman. I don't know if you saw, BuzzFeed did this kind of hit piece on him, complete character assassination a couple of days ago, and he really felt the effects of that. It's really difficult, when you have the one person kind of sticking out above all others because then they know who to go for right away. But you're right, there are a lot of wonderful people now. Pizzagate Angela, I saw, your interview with her. She's wonderful. Or Susie Dodd, she's been doing a great job. A lot of really, really good people stepping up.
Yeah, that hit piece, by the way, and you're right, I love Pizzagate Angela and Susie. They're just terrific people, and when you get to do interviews like this with these folks, you really get to understand how like-minded we all are, and that's such a beautiful thing because, I've been at this a long time in the truth media, be it talking about, what really happened on 9/11 and, what really is going on with vaccines and thimerosal, mercury in the vaccines, what's going on with our Federal Reserve System that's hijacked our monetary policy. As we investigate these things, we realize that it's really a language that our friends, neighbors, and colleagues generally don't speak. The uninitiated, the sheeple people, for lack of a better word, they don't speak this language. So it's really nice to meet people who are like-minded, passionate, and know the language.
That's such a great point. Before this election, I had no idea that there were so many people out there who thought similar to the way that I did or knew the things that I did because I've been kind of red pilled, so to speak, since I was a child. I was raised that way just because my parents were very informed. And so as soon as, Donald Trump announced his candidacy and everything, it's kind of like throughout the election, a lot of the country was red-pilled. Or maybe they had been before. A lot of them, they finally decided to take a stand. But it's just something I noticed, and then I met so many like-minded people, and I never in a million years thought that I would meet, especially on that scale. So it's been great.
Yeah, it's buoying to the spirit, because I've said to many people that we have to sort of compartmentalize our lives when it comes to this type of research in order to stay sane. Because you don't want to be the one person at the holiday party or the one person at the neighborhood get-together who's ranting about all of these things. Because to the people who are asleep, they think you're crazy. They just can't imagine let's talk Pizzagate for a second. They cannot imagine, especially if they read, you mentioned the BuzzFeed hit piece on David Seaman. If you read the Joe Bernstein BuzzFeed hit job, you would think that David Seaman is nuts, and this whole Pizzagate thing is nothing but, nothing but poppycock. And so the point is that we need to compartmentalize, because otherwise our friends, neighbors, and colleagues think we're nuts. So we turn to YouTube, we turn to Twitter, and then we wake up lots of folks. We wake up to people who are intellectually curious, right? That's the key. You have to be intellectually curious to wake up to any of this, to get red-pilled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've had those conversations many times actually with people. Like, for example, I'll talk about what's going on with Islamic immigration to Germany or Sweden or France, to different people, and they have, just friends or relatives, and they have no idea what's going on. Like, I think there's this real lack of drive to actually be aware of what's going on. And I think that's a really sad thing, because our country, hinges upon that. I mean, immigration right now, opening our borders to mass and rapid immigration is very dangerous. And a lot of people just, don't seem to think that it's a very big deal, because they're not informed. So they just don't protest, don't say anything, and just allow it to happen. But that's something, a goal of mine, to try and inform as many people as possible on just a multitude of issues. But because it's something that I notice that there isn't a strong desire to really know what's going on. So.
I want to get your opinion on a few Pizzagate specifics, but let me just ask you this: as far as the mainstream Mockingbird media goes, and pick your poison, be it CNN, MSNBC, or even Fox News, Washington Post, New York Times, whoever. What do you make of the current state of affairs as it relates to the mainstream media? Is your opinion the same as mine, that these people are in on it? They're in on all of these cover-ups, and they are totally an arm of the deep state at this point? CNN in particular, and I can cite an example, Jake Tapper, whose wife told Washingtonian magazine a year before Pizzagate broke that her favorite restaurant was Comet Pizza and their favorite date night restaurant was Buck's. What are the chances of that?
Yeah, and I mean, Tapper himself has been caught colluding with he was caught colluding with the DNC. We found that in the WikiLeaks email. So his bias is known, or should be if you're informed. But the thing about the mainstream media that really irks me is the fact that they pretend to be objective, and yet they are not in any way. Most of these, news anchors, they are just a megaphone for, globalists. They don't have independent thought, or they do actually believe the things that they're saying, and the only reason they have that job is because they believe what they're saying. Otherwise, they would have never been hired. But yeah, I don't believe there's any kind of objectiveness in the mainstream media at all, anywhere left. I mean, you mentioned like David Seaman, that hit piece the BuzzFeed did on him, and people who aren't aware of the situation or have done no research reading it would think he's absolutely crazy. It's the same with me. They've done hit pieces on me, like Washington Post, The Observer, Associated Press, and if you read them, you'd think that I was some kind of nut. I read them, I'm like, whoa, this girl sounds like crazy, and it's me. They just completely will lie about you. They won't look in to try and find any facts, and it's just to smear you. Anyone who's on the right, or anyone who's looking into Pizzagate, it's an attack.
Yeah, it most certainly is. And here's the problem with that. As it pertains to our lives, living our lives, you're putting your name out there, your identity out there. And I've never wanted to become a cult. Not that you do, please don't get me wrong. But as for me personally, and especially when I started doing all this, I was working at Target Corporation, Fortune 50 company, in the marketing department, and I was an executive there. And I just wanted to sort of protect my privacy to the degree I would be able. But in a case like yours, your name is out there, your face is out there, and the enemies, those that are aligned against us, may choose to use these things made up about you to take opportunities away from you, to keep you out of corporations that you might otherwise find yourself having an opportunity to work for should you choose to. Here's the thing. How is it that somebody like Laura Silsby Gaylor could be caught trafficking children and do time in Haiti for trying to traffic 33 kids out of Haiti, and then end up getting a job at AlertSense? Now, do they just have the world's worst human resources department, or did somebody do her a favor? Because I bet you that human resources department would funnel you out and would not give you the job based on the research they do on Brittany Pettibone.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, but we've seen this from, the Democrats, that side, and Republicans as well, but we've seen it from their side multiple times. They're never held accountable. They never have to take responsibility. Anytime the mainstream media, reports wrong and does a retraction, they're still not held accountable. Or BuzzFeed, that, absolutely ridiculous dossier or whatever, they found on Trump, they were never held accountable for that. The golden showers, or Hillary Clinton with her email, she wasn't held accountable for that. None of these people are. They're used to just getting away with it, and that's why Trump comes in and he is actually starting to make people be held accountable in his administration. People are freaking out because as if he's so oppressive or something, but it's actually just what is right and what should be happening. Mm-hmm. It's just that's what I've noticed though.
Yeah, he has to clean house at the State Department. I mean, that's, first of all, Hillary Clinton corrupted that place beyond belief, and he needs to clean house for his own protection, but for the benefit of the country. And then we need Jeff Sessions to start indicting people and, to really flush out this DC-centric pedo ring known as Pizzagate, which I've said is the key to the global pedo ring known as Pedogate. Your thoughts on the chances of any of that happening? Because we're seeing now, just in the past day, 10 more arrests in Cumberland County in an undercover human trafficking sting. That's great news, but these are all low-level nobodies. When are we going to see the big fish get?
They could be starting with this. I'm not sure, because I know that there have been over 1,500 arrests in the past month. That have to do with sex trafficking, and there were only 400 in 2014. There were less than 400 in the entire year. So something is going on. I know that they're not making a lot of noise about it. Maybe that's a good thing because it's something that's done better stealthily. But I think that, and Trump had the meeting about sex trafficking, saying that it's a priority for his administration. So I think that it is on their radar. And I really, really, I can't say for sure one way or the other, but I really hope that Sessions does do something about this. And like you said, a lot of people will just say, oh, it's Pizzagate, and, that we believed that there was some kind of sex trafficking ring in the basement of Comet Ping Pong, which is nothing that, I ever advocated for, or anyone that I know. That's not what it was. But you're right, it is a global issue, and it's so much bigger than just DC. But, the mainstream media just likes to make it sound crazy. But, once again, I really hope that Jeff Sessions will do something about this, the bigger fish, as you said. But at this point, I'm just praying for it and trying to put out what information that I find that's valid. It's just I'm not doing it full time anymore. So, but I also like to really help the smaller researchers who are trying to get, their foot in the door, and make a positive impact on this investigation. So, I've been trying to connect with some of those people and help them out.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you've got such a powerful platform with your nearly 60,000 followers on Twitter. So I know when you retweet anybody's work, that calls a lot of attention to them. So that's really a powerful thing that you've got going there. And it's helpful because, the real news is truly being done by we citizen journalists, right? And when I made a video not long ago saying Pizzagate is a citizen investigation now. And we're not going to let it go. We're not going to give up. We're not going to give Podesta a free pass like he just got on that ridiculous little roundtable event that he was at, just like James Alefantis got a free pass on Fox News from Megyn Kelly. These people are not going to get a free pass. So we're going to keep digging, and when we find smoke, we're going to look for the fire. And, I really wanted to get your opinion on something as it relates to Podesta. The Podesta Brothers e-fit is what I call it. It's an e-fit that was created several years after the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, and there's an uncanny resemblance to the Podesta brothers, John and Tony. Your thoughts on that, because I do have a bit of research that I've never shared that I'm happy to share here, but I just wanted your thoughts on that. How did that e-fit come about, and do you think it's the Podestas?
It was before the election when I first saw it. It was kind of circling Twitter, and I tweeted out a few times, just never accusing anyone, but saying, am I the only one that thinks this really resembles them? Because I absolutely, I think there was a little tiny birthmark mole was in the exact same place in the drawing. And it was just, yeah, uncanny, the resemblance. And so it's worth interrogating, putting it out there. A lot of people will say, oh, you're only doing this because you are opposed to these people politically. That has nothing to do with it. There are plenty of leftists who are on board just as much as we are. And this kind of, freaked them out and has gotten them on board to help research as well. It crosses both lines. It's something that a lot of people, when they do look into it, they're saying, oh, there must be something here. And, I'm going to lend what I can to see how far it goes and what's actually credible. But I absolutely believe that there is similarity there. It's quite scary.
Yeah, I told Ole Demigard in a recent interview with him that it's my belief that was a message sent to the Podesta brothers, whether or not they were in Portugal. We don't know for sure. There is reason to believe that they were staying at Clement Freud's villa, and Clement Freud has since died, and of course we all know now he was a hardcore pedophile. So there's reason to believe they were staying in Portugal, but even if they weren't, it's my belief that was a threat by the deep state or this larger global pedogate ring against the Podesta brothers. And there's a piece of research here on Vote, which I won't read the whole thing to folks, but let me just read you the title and give you sort of the cliff notes. Link between the Podesta Group and Madeleine McCann via Washington, D.C.-based ex-spy detective Kevin Halligan. So, it goes like this. Many believe the two e-fits released in the search for Maddie McCain's abductors bear more than a passing resemblance to John and Tony Podesta. The two e-fits were commissioned in 2008, but not released until 2013 by a fraudulent Irish ex-MI5 GCHQ detective known as Detective Kevin Halligan. So it goes on and it says that his company, Halligan's company, Oakley International, was hired by the McCanns to look into the case of missing Madeleine. And the takeaway here is that it was Kevin Halligan, with those intelligence agency ties, right, who commissioned those e-fits. And if you read this article, it really plays into what I was just saying, that Kevin Halligan knew something about the Podestas, potentially about the Podestas as it relates to Madeleine McCann and their potential involvement in her disappearance, and he commissioned those e-fits. So as you read this article, you realize the connection between Kevin Halligan and the Podestas, and it really leads you to believe that not only does the e-fit resemble those guys, it is them. Mm-hmm. So one just wonders if they were involved directly in the disappearance of that girl, or if they were involved in whatever happened after she was snatched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's why it's so important, to have a formal investigation opened, which I really, really hope, happens, because, we can create all the awareness we want and put out all the information, no matter how valid it is. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter unless there's an investigation, and if they're found guilty, then they're prosecuted. So I really hope that, Sessions and, law enforcement here will step up. Because I feel like, a lot of information has been put forward that warrants someone to look into.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And it's just a shame to see what Google's doing to, truth tellers. They're changing their algorithms to filter out what they're calling fake news. Of course, they're going to be the arbiter of what is real news and what is fake news. But Google is really essentially the deep state, CIA ties. So they're going to just filter out anything counter to the official talking points. And so now they're targeting truth tellers like Mike Adams, making it really impossible for natural news to get the information out. And I think at the end of the day, it becomes very frustrating for those of us who are doing this, because the suspicion now is that we're all targets. We're all targets of the lies of the deep state and the Mockingbird mainstream media. Because the problem is that the deep state and the Mockingbird mainstream media won't tell the truth about Sir Edward Heath and the 16 murdered children that he's now being accused of having been involved with through a satanic pedophile ring in the UK. It's just more of the same. They're going to give us little kernels of this stuff, but always say the road ends with that specific person. When you and I both know the road goes far, far deeper and reaches all the way to the top.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope people understand that it's very vast, this, potentially this whole network. It's not small, and it's not a very contained issue. It seems to be extremely large. And something that, I find so interesting is that the mainstream media and, all the deniers of Pizzagate, etc., they like how they approach this with such like vitriol. How they demonize the people investigating. Why, what cause could you have to do such a thing? These people who are investigating are just genuinely concerned for well-being of children. That's why they're doing this. There isn't really any like monetary gain here. There isn't any, it's a very stressful, like difficult, investigation. And most people are just putting aside whatever time they have, while working jobs on the side, etc. There is really not a lot to gain here for the average person. It's just they're doing it out of genuine concern. So it really is disturbing to see the way that people are demonized who go into this just trying to genuinely contribute something good.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you your opinion on the Podesta interview, John Podesta interview, in which he did address some of this stuff, referred to it as fake news, said that it has all been debunked by the mainstream media. He didn't even say all of it. He says largely debunked, and never once professed his innocence. Never once said, I'm falsely accused of something I would never in a million years do. He just said the mainstream media had debunked it. Your thoughts on that snake and anything he said in that interview?
Well, that's the thing. They haven't debunked it. The only thing the mainstream media has ever said is this isn't real. It's all fake news. That's all they've done. And then they've spread false information about it, saying that we all thought that the pedophile ring was being run out of the basement of Comet Ping Pong. Just false things that we, never said. But they haven't debunked it. They never looked at the WikiLeaks emails. They never, presented those and said, this actually means this, there's nothing to be found here. Or these photos, they actually mean this. It's not alluding to any kind of pedophilia, even though it really looks like that. They would never include them in any articles. So, most people would just be like, oh, this sounds crazy reading it. But those people who read the articles the mainstream media wrote about Pizzagate, they never saw any photos or WikiLeaks emails. So of course they would think it's crazy because that's what the majority of people who are investigating saw, and that's what incentivized them to start investigating in the first place. Or, I doubt many of these people know anything about Laura Silsby, any of these details here. So that's why.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's dangerous business investigating these people. I don't know if you follow the work of George Webb, but he certainly is a courageous guy. I believe he's actually gone to Haiti to try to poke around and see what's going on down there. And as you and I both know, Monica Peterson was doing much of the same, doing, I think, even a cursory investigation of child trafficking via the Clinton Foundation in Haiti, and she paid for it with her life. Tell us about that, for folks that don't know that story. What was Monica Peterson doing, and do you think she was murdered?
I mean, it's hard to say. Of course, I suspect that she was. But yes, she was there. According to her friend who wrote, on Facebook, her friend mentioned that she was there investigating the Clinton Foundation's potential ties to human trafficking. So that's apparently what she was there doing. And yes, did turn up dead while doing that. So, I mean, there were so many different branches of it that we were investigating at the point when I was doing it. So I looked into that a little bit, but not as much as I should have. But I did get that information from, and I know there's a contact I have who was actually, I won't mention who, but who was trying to get some information about that from some contacts in Haiti. So there is still research being done there, but there isn't anything really concrete as far as I know that's come out of it. Maybe you know more than I do about that at this point.
Yeah, you know what? I just know that what's going on in Haiti right now involves DynCorp, and one of the red flags for me is that DynCorp's Feinberg is involved in the Trump administration to the degree that I believe Trump has asked him to evaluate the intelligence agencies. And I mean, that's just a can of worms because DynCorp is directly implicated in a lot of this child trafficking, not just in Haiti, but around the globe. And that is a huge red flag. It's a huge problem. If you had to give us odds, if I were to put you on the spot, what do you think the odds are that this administration and Jeff Sessions will bring down some sort of indictment against Hillary Clinton for any of her myriad crimes?
I think the odds are, and maybe I'm just being too optimistic, but I think the odds are about 70-30, 70 in favor of. And the reason, I just don't see how, if all of this is true, if it is, I don't see how someone like Donald Trump and, Jeff Sessions, people who, claim to want to, return America, make America great again, return it to how it was, and genuinely love and care for America, I don't see how they could let this stand. Because this is potentially all they would need to completely rid DC of, to drain the swamp. If this was true, they could take down everyone. Because I'm sure that many of them are involved, in one way or another through blackmail. Because most of these people, as far as I'm concerned, got where they were, by having to compromise. So I think this is the key. So if it's true, as we, suspect and believe it is, then I don't understand why they wouldn't jump on this, because maybe they have a strategy, because Trump is very unpredictable. So I don't think he would approach it necessarily in the way that we would all anticipate. I think he's going to do it his way. And I really hope that he does something. I mean, it seems that we're seeing, with all these pedophile busts around the country, there is something going on. So maybe we'll it's going to manifest over time.
Yeah. Okay. I love those odds, by the way. I'll take 70%. Final question. What do you think the odds are, then, that something will come down on Podesta's head? Because the man is, I think, an easier target than Hillary. It'd be a limited hangout to the degree that they could make up any story they wanted, get him for whatever they wanted, and throw him in prison. And we have Linda Rothschild recently tweeting out saying, "You blew the election for Hillary. You," in her words, this is unbelievable, she said, "you destroyed a great family," which tells you everything you need to know about her beliefs. And she called him a loser. So if that tweet and account is legitimate, which I believe it is, even the Rothschilds have it out for Podesta, which to me says he's going down.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he very well might be the fall guy. It would make sense. But then again, a lot of these people are very connected, like David Brock, Podesta, James Alefantis, Hillary Clinton. So it's kind of, I could almost see a domino effect happening. Mm-hmm. When one goes down, many of them are, maybe not all of them, but I could see it being an opportunity to take out a couple big players at least.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And if the Justice Department is going to enforce rule of law and actually take down criminals, then you're right. This whole thing could lead to a domino-style effect, because we have in Jason Chaffetz's own words, he said Trump pulled him aside at an event and said, "You're doing great work. Keep it up, and you go after whoever you think you need to go after." So I think that's a good sign.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Brittany, we love your work, and you're just a lovely, intelligent woman, and there's so many out there like you. Tara from Reality Calls, my friend Pizzagate Angela, Susie Dowd, all of these great, powerful, intelligent women, like taking action and just not being afraid to stand up and speak out and speak truth. I just think it's absolutely inspiring. You're inspiring all sorts of women out there and men to do the same. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. How do we get folks to follow you and help you out on a day-to-day basis? Is there anything we can do to support you?
Well, I mean, if you're interested in science fiction and fantasy, that's initially what I am. I'm an author with my twin sister. So our debut novel is called Hatred Day, and you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Audible. There's an awesome audiobook if you prefer. So, I mean, that would be the best. But then I've recently started a YouTube channel with Tara from Reality Calls, where we interview a range of guests on issues. Like, we talk about a lot of like traditionalism and how to preserve like our country, like fighting for Western civilization, stuff like that. So we've had a lot of really interesting guests over the past few weeks, and you can check that out if you're interested. My YouTube channel is Brittany Pettibone, and that's about it. All
right, and you guys can follow Brittany on Twitter at Britt Pettibone. Our guest has been Brittany Pettibone. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your support at sgtreport.com, the home of real news 24/7. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. God bless.
My guess is that it's the Finders, Comet Ping Pong, and all of those businesses. I think it's an extension of the Finders. If I had to guess, I think it's a CIA-run operation. Mm-hmm. Because why else would James Alefantis be the 49th most powerful man in D.C. when there's senators and people like that didn't even make the list?